Good morning. Just a little update on our pasture pigs. This is day 3 of moving pigs out to pasture. 3 days ago I made a video taking the boars out. And then yesterday we separated the gilts and took them out. And today we are taking these 48 out to pasture. So they're coming off this piece here. I've already worked that once with a cultivator, but they were out there all winter, spreading out nutrients, doing their thing. And then today they're going to get turned out with this group of cows. This group of cows is not really cows, they're steers, bulls, and cull cows. I'd open the gate and get these pigs up the alleyway, and these cows decided to wander up the alleyway, so they might cause us a bit of problems. But this group will run with this group of cows now, and never ran pigs directly with the cows in the summertime. Only done it in the winter. In the winter we bale graze the cows, like cows were bale grazing out there. And the pigs do a pretty good job of rummaging through any of the thatch and uneaten hay and stems, help break it up, which is why I was able to cultivate it without dragging huge clumps of hay all over the field. I did drag some, but not huge amounts. Yeah, they just do really well wintering with the cows. And I had the sheep out there as well. We did separate the sheep when it came time to lamb. Just didn't want sheep lambing out there with... there was 58 pigs out there. Oh, somebody touched the fence. This group now has 46 because we took 12 gilts out to breed, and we put them in with 4 boars. The other group of cattle, which consists of all the calving cows and purebred yearling heifers, and a couple of crossbred heifers that we intend to butcher and don't want bred. They are over on the other side of the farm right now, and they've got our sheep grazing with them. So it'd be interesting to see. These pigs do eat quite a bit of grass. They'll eat, I find they eat quite like the sheep actually. They eat very similar. They want the tender bits of the plant, the really highly palatable bits of the plant. I never used to really believe that pigs ate a lot of grass, and I'm starting to see now they eat a lot of grass. Not really sure what the nutritional value of that is for them, because if you or I were to eat a lot of grass, you probably wouldn't live or survive off of it either. But if we were to go around and start eating the buds off of clover and alfalfa and the blooms of dandelions and the roots, we'd probably do okay. So yeah, this is our piggies going out to pasture. They will have a self feeder right now just because we are trying to fatten them, and we are pushing a lot of, it is a big group. We normally limit feed them twice a day, and to do that we would typically just dump the feed on the ground and they clean it right up. In that wintering paddock, once things got really dirty and muddy, it was becoming hard to do, and they were just getting so big they'd knock you over when you showed up with the side-by-side and pails of feed. So what we started to do, we actually made a yard out of portable gates and put wooden troughs in it, so I could pull in with the pigs locked out, dump the feed in the troughs, and then open the gate and let them in. And that was working really well for the first day or two. And then it just got to the point where you couldn't get the pigs out of the yard because they'd just sleep next to the troughs. They were getting, which was telling me they weren't really getting enough feed, even though mathematically they were. So to keep the pigs content, we dug some old self feeders out of the fence line that we weren't using, and we put well, that pig just went through the fence. call that fate, because that happens to be where the breeding group is, and that happened to be a gilt that just jumped through there. So guess we're breeding 13 this year. There you have it, folks. That's how farming goes. Back to my story about self-feeder. The reason we really went away from self-feeders with these pigs is A, they have a tendency to overeat and get really fat. Keeping them out in pasture and keeping them moving does help with that. It does help keep them from getting fat. But the other thing is we milk our cows and we feed them milk. And the best way to feed them milk is actually, and to transport that milk to the field, is in pails full of grain. So we actually soak the feed for 12 hours. There's another guy here on YouTube out in Alberta, and I'll probably butcher his name. Tacoma Colon? Maybe I'm not saying that right. If I'm not, and he happens to be watching this, I apologize. But he explained it quite well. Well, first, my wife was the first one that I encountered that was feeding soaked feed. And as she pointed out, grains are full of anti-nutrients. But if we soak them, that helps eliminate them. So she was big on soaked feed. I never really saw the value in it. Was starting to understand it, and then I watched this video where this fellow explained it. And he said, basically, take white flour and try to eat it. That's the equivalent of eating pig feed. Yet you take that white flour and you soak it and make a sourdough starter, it's suddenly far more palatable to you. And ever since that, I've never been able to feed dry feed to a pig. Our self-feeders don't really allow you to soak feed. Now, we were always, we would feed in the morning and then refill the pails and feed at night. So the feed was soaking for like maybe 14 to 15 hours and maybe 10 to 11 hours, something like that. And I figured that was better than not soaking, but I often wondered if that was enough. So, but we just didn't have enough pails and enough space, especially in the wintertime, to keep these pails from freezing while they were soaking. So now we're on the self-feeder. I've gone to just feeding them once a day, and I let that feed soak for 24 hours. And then they get the additional feed from the self-feeder. And we only really started this a short while ago, and now I'm just keeping track of how much feed I put in that feeder and how much I take out every day. And I want to see if their feed intake goes up. Right now it has gone way up. It really has. So you're going to see if that levels off once they kind of get over this gorging phase, and see if this pasture helps now, because now there's a lot of grass out here. There's a bull limping here, and I could explain that in a minute. But I'm not sure if I'm being clear on the feed, but the hopes is that, yes, now they're eating some dry feed, which I don't really want, but soon the cows will be milking and we'll be soaking. Right now the feed that is being soaked with water, but soon that feed will be soaked 100% in milk, and then it's soaking for 24 hours, and I'm hoping that's going to have a great benefit over just feeding dry feed, and that they're going to eat more of the wet feed. They do come in and clean the wet feed up, and I might have to go back to feeding twice a day. But they come in, they eat the wet feed, they clean it all up, and then they're just going to that self-feeder just to get that little bit extra. So, bit of a feed trial. Probably didn't explain that clearly, but soon I might have some answers for you. This bull here, he is lame. We will have to do something about this, by which I mean I'll probably have to make another video about it, and I'll explain that lame bull in another video. So how about that? Hello, Mr. Pig. Yes, you've got some fat jowls on you. You could always tell when a cow is ready to butcher by the way her brisket jiggles, and a pig by the way its jowls jiggle. Yes, and you are soon ready to butcher. All right, folks. Well, that's our pigs. I'll keep you updated, and we'll go from there. Take care, folks. Back up, pig. I want to shut this gate. Back up, pig. There you go. And off the pasture they go.